Welcome to the Good Success Podcast. We have an amazing show scheduled for you today, but before we get started, let's have a word from our sponsors. Radius Renovation Group is a full-service construction management solution for investors of single-family and small multifamily investors in 25 states. Whether you own one property or hundreds in different states, the goal is to be your one-stop shop for all your construction needs, to increase property values, and to give you a positive and profitable outcome. Using their 8-step process, Radius will walk the project, complete a line-by-line scope of work and estimate, schedule work with licensed and Radius certified contractors, manage the project and contractors, pay the contractors as work is completed, provide quality control throughout the project, and when the project is complete, do a final inspection. Clients are provided with login access to Radius's cloud-based project management platform to view work schedules and updated photos of each job. There is even the ability to directly message the project manager. Radius only works with real estate investors, so they speak your language and understand your needs, from project timing to investor-friendly pricing. If you're an investor who is done trying to manage contractors and rehabs on your own, it might be time to consider having Radius as your partner. To put their expertise to work for you today, visit the Radius website at www.radiusreno.com or call them right now at 417-730-9777. And now, back to the Good Success Podcast.
That the money in his bank account didn't fit his goals, so he had to go out and buy more real estate. So he didn't have enough money in the bank account, but he went out and made it happen. So I think that's huge, because there's so many people out there who dream big, but they let their bank account hold them back. Real estate's one of those really interesting assets where you can make things happen with not a whole lot of capital.
Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Culler. Got Tom Olson with we didn't plan this. Last time I was in here too, we had the matching shirts.
Josh, you keep trying to match me.
I didn't call you or anything.
I just changed my shirt to change into this.
This is actually the first time I've talked to you this morning.
I know.
And we just didn't. Maybe we just great minds think alike. Maybe
just did it.
I did. So awesome stuff. So got an exciting guest on the show today.
Here's what's your vision.
Yes.
And I don't think most people know this, but this is actually a map.
Oh, that's true.
Of the city of Gary, Indiana, which is kind of one of my big dreams in my life, is to flip the city of Gary. And I actually spent a bunch of time this weekend in Miller Beach.
Oh, nice.
Talking to some of the owners of the local restaurants, of the local establishments there, and I had a really good time. So it was really cool. I got to talk to Joyce at Lake Street Gallery. I bought a little painting from one of my Airbnbs that are over there. I talked to the people at Indie Bang Bang, if you're looking for some cute little gifts. I talked to the people at, it's called Tacos and Tequilas.
I've heard of that place.
So, and they have really good Mexican food there. And Anna's, she has kombucha and coffee, and it's really good coffee too. So if you're looking for a coffee place in Miller Beach, Indiana, that's the place to go.
You should just on the bus tour for the community go.
I know, that's what I was thinking. It'd be awesome. And then Illuminations, I think that's what it's called, is another place, and she's got freshly squeezed juice and smoothies, and she even does massages there and yoga, and she does some spiritual meditation stuff where she can.
Sounds like a really happy place.
Yeah,
to go to.
that realm of if you're looking for that. So I think it's called Rack. I don't know, some weird kind of thing that she was talking about.
Well, we're excited to take the bus tour around those places. Yes. That'd be good for the community go.
Let's hope by then the construction's done. So they're redoing the road right down there in downtown Miller Beach, and I'm excited about it.
Well, let's talk about the community go-giver event in just a second. But we got Seth Ferguson on the line here out of Toronto. You guys are going to be excited to hear his accent. I was talking about it. Yeah, exactly. So I was just telling him I was in Toronto a couple weeks ago, and man, those people up there are nice, and the city is beautiful. But Seth, what's going on, man? It's good to have you on the show today.
Hey guys, what's up? I just killed a polar bear, and I just restocked the fire in my igloo, so I'm all set.
So did you guys get slammed with snow too?
No, we've had rain for the past couple days, but hopefully the snow is gone for another year. Fingers crossed.
Well, we just got snow yesterday. Yeah. That wasn't fun. So
But it's almost 50 degrees right now.
Right, exactly. So go figure. But we're excited to have Seth on the show. So if you guys don't know, Seth actually has a show called Purchase to Profits, which is now available on wherever you listen to podcasts as well. So make sure you go check that out. And then he's also got a YouTube channel. So we're going to have him go into that a little bit more in depth. He's also got a couple books that are coming out. So any of our Canadian investors, Stephen Fryer, if you're listening up there.
Hey.
So make sure that you connect with Seth if you haven't already. But Seth has been a real estate investor in sales for about 10 years now, and he is actually making the transition from single-family investing over to multifamily and going deep into that. So we'll have him talk about that transition here in just a second. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, go over to wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure you subscribe to the Good Success Podcast if you haven't already. And then if you're on Apple Podcasts, head over there, leave a 5-star review. That would be much appreciated. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. But if you want to make it easier, just go to either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to download the official Good Success app where you can listen to all the podcasts there. It's got incredible search functionality. So if you know a guest, but you don't remember what the episode was, just search the guest name and you're good to go.
One of my biggest, most annoying things when I listened to the podcast, Josh, was that I'd have to go find the thing and then scroll, or if you subscribe to it, then you're kind of trying to go back and find it. Nope, you just open up the app and it's right there, right in front of your face.
It seriously can't be any easier.
Just boom, right there.
So make sure you go download it, guys. Either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. It works. You don't have an excuse. So go download it if that's your flavor. So that'd be good. And then the Good Success Mastermind coming up very, 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 very quickly, very soon in Miami, Florida. We're excited about it. So Tom, let's talk about it. They don't have much time to sign up if they're going to come, but
if you're going to come, I'd probably just tell you to text me. So I'm just going to give you my number. 219-742-7957. No telemarketers. This is a disclaimer. No telemarketers. And no spam text messages.
No spam.
Okay, so text me if you're really interested in coming, and if you think that you are at the level where you either want to talk to the people at the next level or you are at the level of the next people. The problem is with most people, they don't have a place they can actually go and have a conversation and really understand how to get out of issues that they're into right now. Because the realtor that sold them the property doesn't really know the answer, and there's not really that group that most people have to be able to bounce off ideas. And I think a lot of times you figure out, I think everybody ought to have like their top 5 or their top 7 people. And a lot of times you have to go to a mastermind or go to a group like this to actually get those people in your network. So if you're looking for a mastermind like that you can bounce off ideas, you can have a board of advisors, and people will actually, you can trust them enough to be vulnerable, and open up and say, hey, this is what I'm really struggling with. And you trust that they're not only just going to give you ideas because they want to hear themselves speak, they're going to give you ideas, or they're going to give you direction that they would themselves have either gone through or they themselves have learned through those exact same issues that you're going through. So whatever you're struggling with in business, you need to be putting yourself in those types of rooms, and we've created that culture in that room with the Good Success Mastermind. We vet every person that comes into Mastermind with our core values of stewardship, community, growth, and charity. And that's the type of people that are in the room, and that's the type of people I want in the room. So if you think that you're one of those type of people, text me, or you can go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind and fill out the application there.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on that website, you'll see the future dates for the events that are coming up. So they're once a quarter. So make sure you go check that out. One more time, goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Fill out the application there, and then you jump on a phone call with Tom and talk about if you're a good fit for the mastermind and vice versa, because we would love to have you there. And then the Community Go Giver event, communitygogiver.com is where you can pick your tickets up today. Tickets are going to sell out. There's only 80 seats available, like in grand total. I know that there's not that many available right this second. Nope. That's what we're selling out at, and it's happening right here in our office in Gary, Indiana. Tom was talking a little bit about some of the places that he went in Gary just recently, and so we're excited about that. Going to be having a bus tour and all kinds of incredible speakers that are going to be here. June 26, 27, 28 are the event dates. So Tom, let's chat about this for a little bit.
Yes, if you haven't signed up, just do it now. Just stop watching the podcast, stop listening to the podcast, go to community. There you go. Look, Seth is signing up right now. So communitygogiver.com and sign up. I'm honestly the cost of admission isn't even, a cost. If you're not willing to pay a couple $100 to come see the group of people that we have, then I would even question if you're really serious about investing or not. So whether you're a newer person or whether you're totally on the other side and you're an investor, Or if you're an actual developer and actually developing properties for people, it's for every one of those groups of people. This is not like the Mastermind where it's kind of only for the people that are really in the business and really doing a lot of deals and crushing it. It's really for people of all different stripes. So whether you're a new beginner just trying to learn, whether you're a turnkey buyer and wanting to look for an amazing opportunity right now that I'm seeing in Gary, Indiana, and you want to see us help us flip the city of Gary, or whether you're an investor and just looking for a different market or different people to invest your money in and kind of learning a little bit more about the insides of our operation here with our construction management company and our property management company, this is the place for you. So all the above, the speakers speak for themselves, so you can go on the website and figure out and see who's speaking, and then follow us on Facebook, and we're putting out a lot of information on this different speakers that are speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. So communitygogiver.com. There are 1 ticket and 2 ticket packages available. So if you get a 2 ticket package, then you get a pretty significant discount. So can't complain. For the price of the 2 ticket package is normally even less than what a 1 ticket admission to another event like this would be. So you guys are going to get an incredible value out of it. So make
it's
sure
like $500 or less than $500 for 2 people. Absolutely. If you do it that way. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So one more time, communitygogiver.com. Make sure you take action on that now, because we are selling out at 80. We can't take any more in the building. So without further ado, let's jump into the interview for today. Seth, we're excited to have you on the show, excited to dive into some incredible stuff that you're doing up there in Canada. So we're excited about hearing about that. So yeah, exactly. So I was excited to hear. I was hoping he was going to sing it.
Let's go.
So Seth, do us a favor for the people that don't know who you are. Introduce yourself. So who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing that.
Yeah, I'm Seth Ferguson. Just want to say thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm going to have to sign up and come to Gary for your event. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Awesome.
It will be.
Yeah. So I've been involved in residential sales on the brokerage side for about 11 years now. I got into real estate investing once I saw the potential of real estate. Made a couple mistakes along the way. And now I'm transitioning into the multifamily space to scale up my portfolio. I play the bagpipes, so that's an interesting thing. And I was a former hockey referee, so I did some pro leagues in the States and traveled around. So it was a lot of fun.
Interesting. That's awesome. So talk about some of the resources that you got going on. So I know you have your show, so Profits or Purchase to Profits, which is the show, and it's now available on wherever you listen to podcasts, but it's also available on YouTube. So is it correct you're doing daily interviews?
That's right. Every day we have a new successful real estate investor on the show. We've had some really great guests on, including Tom. Your episode hasn't gone live yet, but some really cool guys and girls on the show. I learn a lot. The viewers learn a lot. And people can go to purchase2profits.com to find the YouTube channel and all the other links to iTunes, Google, and all that stuff.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. So you guys make sure you take advantage of that and go listen. And then Tom's episode should be coming out soon. So as soon as that comes out, Seth, send us the links, and then we'll make sure we get it pushed out so that our listeners can join in as well. All right, cool. And then you said that you mentioned earlier that you have a couple books. So one of them specifically for Canada investors, but we might have a couple people that are listening in Canada. So talk about those two things that are coming out. Yeah, Stephen Fryer.
Yeah, the first book, it came out last year in 2018, and that's called Sell for More. It's all about the sales side of real estate. So how to sell your properties for maximum value, shortest time on market, strategies to use. We talked about the real estate cycle, different marketing strategies to use at every phase of the cycle, pricing. Some really good stuff. We had international real estate expert Richard Robbins write the foreword for the book. Really honored to have him do that for me. And I'm currently working on my second book called Purchase to Profits, where I take all the lessons I've learned from my interviews with my guest on the show and really condense down those lessons into a book format. So that should be coming out later on this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. We'll be excited to get you back on the show when the book comes out.
Yeah, I have to be really careful how I say out. My Canadianness stands out when I say that. So
I love it. That's awesome.
His Canadian stands out when he says out.
We'll try to keep you from those OU words, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about some of the expertises that you have. So one thing that you mentioned is you're kind of getting away from single family homes investing and going more into multifamily. So talk about the differences between that. Is there a mindset shift when you're investing, the difference between investing in single family to multifamily, and kind of how that process has gone down for you?
Yeah, I can talk about my personal experiences and maybe throw in a couple tips from the guests I've had on. So myself, my shift to multifamily really occurred when my son was born. It was an interesting experience. I'm not sure if you have kids or not, but you hold your child for the first time, and for me, I just felt that instant urge to do better, be a better person, provide more, because now I have somebody I have to care for. And so, your brain starts going. It's like, well, I know real estate investing is the best vehicle to build wealth, because I knew that. I had been in real estate for over 10 years at that point. But then you have to think, how can I scale this and build this faster, bring in better systems? And to me, multifamily seemed like the best way to go. From all the successful real estate investors I'd spoken with already. And I decided to make that shift, going from single family to multifamily. So I think for anybody out there looking to make any changes in their portfolio, you have to realize what you want to accomplish at the end and work backwards. So for me, I knew I wanted to have a large portfolio with systems in place. I wanted to run more of a high-level business rather than me going in and changing toilets and doing electrical stuff every weekend. That's not what I wanted. So I had to ask myself, what sort of life, what sort of portfolio do I want to have? And I selected multifamily for that. Now, there's lots of great niches out there. You can go into shopping centers, you can go into retail, real estate. There's 150 plus ways to do it. This is just the avenue I've selected for myself.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, Josh. So being that we're good success and that we talk about like the things that nobody else kind of talks about, especially in real estate, what he just mentioned there is a perfect example of knowing why you do what you do first. Mm-hmm. So like he talked about when he held his baby, he was like, I want to do better. Why? Not for me. Because if it's all for us, we never raise to the next level. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest thing I talk about when I talk about be a conduit, not a bucket. Like if it's all for us, we might be awesome, but we're never going to really push ourselves to get to that next level if it's all for us. If it's for somebody else that we really love, that we're letting that love flow through us, which is charity, our number one core value, you have to have that love that flows through us. Then now all of a sudden you want to get better. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you want to get bigger. So that's the first thing I want to point out. The second thing I want to point out is I think the difference between multifamily and single family, I think you can make a ton of money in either one, but I think multifamily helps you get to the point of having more doors faster. So I always tell single family, because most of my stuff that we sell turnkey is single family investments. And I tell people, if you're not going to get to 10 as fast as you can, probably don't do it. Like you want to get to 10 as fast as you can. As soon as you get to 10, get to 20 as fast as you can. Why? Because you need a large enough statistical snapshot to really kind of understand what the game looks like and feels like. And in multifamily, like from my experience, this could just be my own personal experience. You make a little bit less money, but it's a little bit less at risk. And that's really kind of what I have seen is, and you can make money and you can sell and you can like houses can go up in value. And if the market's at the right part of the market like it is today right now, you can actually sell multifamilies today. But there are many parts of the market you can't sell in multifamily. You're only selling to other investors that can buy that type of product. But at the end of the day, the biggest advantage I see that multifamily has over single family is you have that large enough statistical snapshot to understand the ebbs and flows, the vacancy, the repairs that have to be done. And if you only have 3 or 4 properties, like one property going vacant really hurts, right? That's just my take on it. I mean, I think single family is amazing, and I know that a lot of the people that invest with us are doing awesome. But at the end of the day, I do like multifamily as well, and I'll put money into my own money into some multifamily deals more from an investor standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And I've had clients over the years on my sales career. They've built an incredible single family portfolio, and I was doing well at it too. It's not I'm not making the switch to multifamily because single family is bad for any reason. I did incredibly well. It's just the systems I wanted in place. If I want to own 100 houses, that's a lot of work to own 100 houses. But if I can own 100 units under one roof, or roof, depending on where we are. That to me, for the lifestyle and the portfolio I wanted to create, that seemed like a better avenue. And then, in hot markets, so Toronto is like a New York, Seattle. With single family, you hit that financing crunch really, really hard. The cash flow isn't there. You're really going for that long-term capital growth appreciation game. And it's a totally different way of investing in single family homes. And so if I'm buying properties in Toronto or another really hot market, I'm getting zero cash flow. I may be getting good appreciation, but cash flow is king. So if I can get into some multifamily and at least have some cash flow there too, that's a big benefit. So when you're in hotter markets, that financing crunch and that cash flow crunch can really hurt sometimes.
So what are some tips that you can give somebody that may be thinking about getting into multifamily, or they're just getting started into multifamily?
Yeah, you have to educate yourself first. The one thing I did was I read a lot of books. Almost every book out there on multifamily I've probably read, and if there's a new one published, I'll go out and buy it. Education is key because you're going to run into different terms. When you're in a single family portfolio, there's nobody's going to talk about a cap rate usually with single family. That's a multifamily term. Knowing how vacancy, how you force appreciation, how those properties are valued versus a single family. A single family portfolio will value that on the comparable approach. So finding apples to apples comparisons. With multifamily, you're going based on an income approach. So you're using the net operating income. So your income after all the expenses are paid, and using a market cap rate for that. So it's just, learning a different language. People you speak with, the different brokers, maybe different investors, they'll be speaking a different, they have different words for the same thing. So you just have to educate yourself on that. And that'll give you a good stepping stone into really learning the nuts and bolts of it once you can speak the same language.
I hope you've been enjoying this Good Success podcast, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Our next sponsor is Gary Harper at Sharper Business Solutions. Your business is a personal endeavor that you have poured your blood, sweat, and tears into. And they know that. Sharper Business Solutions is a full-service solution to help you scale your dream. Sharper Business Solution implements the Sharper process and other key systems, giving you the confidence that you need to have freedom and grow and scale your business. The Sharper team wants to come right alongside you and provide the resources needed for long-term growth and success. If you are looking to grow or scale your business, contact my friend and Good Success Mastermind member, Gary Harper, and his team to help you implement the Sharper process. You can schedule your free consultation today at sharperprocess.com. So go do it right now. Go to sharperprocess.com and schedule your free consultation with Gary and his team. Our next sponsor is Jerry Padilla from Prime Lending. Whether it's your first time buying a home or you're well adversed in the process, buying and refinancing a home can be an exciting and rewarding but sometimes challenging experience. At Prime Lending, we take the time to listen and work with you to find a home loan that fits your needs. If you're looking to refinance your loan, lower your interest rate, lower your monthly payments, shorten your term, or get cash for whatever reason you need, we have a solution for you. Prime Lending also has several options for renovation loans, so you can find what works best for you and your home project. Make sure you contact our good friend, Jerry Padilla, who is a senior loan officer and originator with Prime Lending and has over 11 years in the mortgage industry. You can learn more about Jerry and what Prime Lending has to offer you by visiting goodsuccess.com/prime lending. Again, that's goodsuccess.com/prime lending. And now, back to our show.
Sure. So you mentioned broker and investor. So let's kind of transition into that scenario there. So you went from a broker to an investor. So let's talk about the transition there, maybe the differences between those two things.
Yeah. So this, I made that transition before my son was born. So that was before the big eureka moment. But what I realized was it's the people that acquire the assets that build the wealth, not the people who broker it. So for myself, I was making really good money doing these deals. I'd make my commission. That's great. But at the end of the day, if I spend a whole year selling, I had no asset behind me that I could leverage at a future date. So something clicked in my brain saying, hey, listen, like I have to start acquiring these assets and building up a portfolio. And that's going to build my wealth as I keep on working. So I think that was what made me make the switch. But at that point, I didn't know why I was doing it. I knew I should because other successful people were doing it, but I didn't have that big driving force behind me that happened once my son was born. So I think for anybody out there, and Tom mentioned this, you have to know why you're doing it. And all the successful people I've interviewed on my show, and I'm sure you guys have too, they all have a reason why they do the things that they do. And I can tell you for myself, once I realized why I was investing in growing my portfolio, I'm just going 5 times as hard, 10 times as hard, and nothing's really getting in my way now. The excuses go out the window because you're very focused on that goal.
That's interesting. So then let's talk about the single family housing that you've experienced with. So one of the topics that you had shot over to me that you like to talk about is single family homes in hot markets. So we all know that there are many, many, many hot markets across the US right now. And for the people that are in those markets, it can be difficult to do deals. So it can be difficult to acquire. I mean, we hear all the time that there's a lack of inventory in Dallas and Northwest Indiana and Charlotte and Atlanta, wherever you go. So not sure how the Toronto market is, but you're also familiar with other markets. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the Toronto market, just think New York on steroids. No joke. It is absolutely nuts right now. We've seen our last downturn was in 2008, and we've had just strong, solid growth in the past 4 years. We've just had an incredible, growth phase in the market, and we have had a bit of a correction. We had one about a year ago, and so we've basically recovered. When I say correction, it's almost just like a little blip. The key drivers are really strong, good job growth. Toronto's the #1 destination for immigrants coming into the country. So we're having hundreds of thousands of people every year moving to Toronto, and that's just really pumping the market right now. So I think for somebody in that more active market, cash flow is always going to be a really tough thing to find. Lots of people buy these properties geared negatively. So that means, if somebody doesn't know what that means, if you're buying a property and you're losing money every month, but you go into it knowing you're going to lose, that can be a dangerous situation if you're not buying the right sort of property, if you don't have your game plan. So I think my advice would be for somebody in those hot markets is you have to know exactly what you're doing. You have to be, if you're brand new, work with somebody who's very experienced in that marketplace, because even in a hot market like Toronto or New York, you can still find properties. They might not be cash flow positive, but they'll be cash flow neutral. And if I'm looking at holding for the next 10 years, if I can get in a cash flow neutral property and my hold period is 10 years, I'm going to win over the long term for sure. It's that real estate cycle. But I'll just have to kind of be very careful as I'm building my portfolio so I don't get myself into that negative space.
So let me ask you this. Do you only invest in Toronto then?
Yeah. So for myself, because I was selling in that area, I knew it really well. And I knew the product really well. I knew the different areas. So yeah, I built my single family portfolio in one of the craziest markets in the world.
And then are you also only buying multifamily in Toronto?
No. So right now I'm sourcing deals in the States. One of the markets I like is Houston. I like the long-term prospects for Houston. So I've lost my single family portfolio through a very bad mistake I made partner wise. And so I'm kind of building again from scratch. And, right now people in Toronto, they're buying, let's say, a multifamily asset at like a 2.5 cap. It's just, it's nuts. So there's no arbitrage there. Let's say you're paying 3.5% for your mortgage, for your financing, and the cap rate's 2.5%. It's absolutely crazy right now.
Yeah, I guess so. So I normally don't question my guests because I always look to them as the expert that we're talking to.
Yeah.
But I guess I would just have to maybe link the two. So what you're finding is that multifamily is good in Houston, but you only bought single family in that overappreciated market. So like I think we have to kind of step back and compare a little bit apples to apples on this. And I'm not by any means saying that you're wrong.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is in a single family market, for instance, there's this curve, and I always kind of talk about this. There's a curve where cash flow makes sense and cash flow doesn't. And I never believe in neutral, honestly. Like to me, I never believe in neutral cash flow. I never believe in negative cash flow, period. End of story. Like you can't convince me otherwise. I always think there ought to be at least positive income. And now, does it have to be $200, $300, $400 a month? No, absolutely. I don't believe in that. I know a guy in California, most of his cash flow about $150 a month, but he has got 170 something single family doors. And so if you think about those numbers, like it makes a lot of sense. But I think that every house should be cash flowing positively. And I think you're finding that in Houston, obviously. But there are lots of other places around the country that you will find positive cash flow, multi or single family, either way. In my opinion, a 2.5% cap rate for a multi is horrible. Like I just would never even think about doing that. I mean, I heard about 4% cap rates in Colorado, and I would even do that. I wouldn't even touch that. But, people are doing it all over the United States, and I just don't think that it's a good short-term or long-term play.
Yeah. And in terms of the cash flow, I agree with you, because what I found, buying these single family properties, my equity position was very strong, but I was cash flow poor. I interviewed a guest, Chris Gray from Australia. He invests in the Sydney market. It's another global hot market city. He actually uses a very interesting negatively geared strategy where he's maximizing the leverage on every single property. So if anybody's interested, they can listen to my interview on my show. Really interesting guy. I wouldn't suggest it for someone who's brand new, but it's just, when you get into these situations where cash flow doesn't make sense, there are some people doing some pretty creative, interesting strategies that have worked really well for them. But that's not for a newbie. Like that's for somebody who knows exactly what they're getting into.
Absolutely. So investing in that Houston market, how have you made that work? Do you have boots on the ground there, or what do you have systemized in order to be able to make that market work for you?
Yeah, the one thing I've learned, real estate is all about relationships. That's what makes real estate go around. So as I'm transitioning, I'm focusing on building those solid relationships, not only with other investors, but with other brokers. I'm building up my funnels, right? So I want my deal funnel, and I want my money funnel, the capital raising funnel. So I'm really working hard building those relationships. The relationships I have as a single family investor are not necessarily the relationships I'll need as a multifamily investor. Multifamily, I'm looking for capital partners to come in with me. I'm looking for accredited investors. Are those the relationships I had as a real estate broker? Maybe, maybe not, right? You always have to expand your network and level up. So that's what I'm focusing on right now, underwriting deals every day. I had one that looked like it was a good one a little while ago. Did not work out. So now I'm still on the hunt, tracking down my very first multifamily purchase in Houston.
So if you guys haven't heard it enough on this show, relationships is huge when it comes to real estate. So if you're not in groups, if you're not going to meetups, if you're not in masterminds, get yourself in as many as you can afford time and money wise, but get yourself in there because it's just absolutely insane. So maybe elaborate on that a little bit more. Let's go deeper into relationships. Like, what are some opportunities, or even what are some things that you have fallen into? Maybe even this partnership that you mentioned before the show started. That yes, it's relationship, but it could be a bad relationship too. So let's talk about that.
Okay, Dr. Phil. All right, let's get into it. So yeah, I was selling real estate. Met this wonderful, lovely lady. We hooked up together, moved in, started acquiring real estate. At some point in time, the relationship ended. We were still on title with all these real estate properties. Let's just say the bank account was wiped out, and mortgage payments started bouncing, and you find yourself in a very, very, very bad spot when all the money's gone. The properties are vacant. You're both on title. One person's refusing to lease them. and fill them up. And I think you mentioned vacancy in a single family portfolio. This is a great example because, let's say you have 4 properties and 2 of them are vacant. You've just lost half of your income. And things get bad really, really, really quickly. Mm-hmm. So I guess my advice, even if you're buying real estate with somebody, let's say you even have a child together, make sure you go see a lawyer and have an agreement drafted up with contingency plans, shotgun clauses, all that kind of stuff to deal with this situation. I didn't do it. You have love in your eyes. You say, I don't need this. You do need it. Take it from me. I've gone through the ringer. Make sure you get legal advice no matter who you are buying real estate with, and draft up an agreement that covers the good times and the bad times.
Interesting. Definitely appreciate you sharing that with us. Didn't even have to go into that, but thank you so much for sharing that, because that is some good advice.
There's
That's
a couple
something
lessons
that people
there to
need
learn.
to know. Yeah.
A couple lessons.
What lessons did you learn?
Honestly, if somebody can avoid making the mistakes I made, this is what it's all about. Because I went into it blind. I didn't know. So hopefully somebody can kind of listen and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about buying real estate with so-and-so. I need to go get a legal agreement drafted up that protects me.
Yeah, Mary Hart, one of our speakers at our event, in the Community Go Giver event, talks about like the number one mistake real estate investors are making. And basically that's part of it. The part that people aren't putting things, aren't making upfront agreements like about what happens. And for her, it's just kind of more like legacy, when you're passing it on, making sure that everything is set in stone, that you're all set with all that kind of stuff. So, great lesson there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, divorce is very expensive too.
Yes.
Oh, it's the worst thing that can happen to you. Worst thing.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you sharing that and being willing to be open about that. And that's definitely something that you guys need to take consideration in if you ever find yourself in the situation here. So, Seth, again, thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about your show. Let's go back to the show that you have here. So it's crazy. I know that we publish 2 episodes a week. You're doing them daily, which is absolutely insane. So that's amazing. You guys make sure you go check him out. I had a chance to look over some of the interviews he had, and he's had some awesome guests on the show, some of them which have been on this show as well. So make sure you guys go check that out. But let's talk about some of the biggest lessons that you've learned. I know especially for Tom and I, just interviewing people, a lot of times you learn some incredible things just from the interviews and asking good questions and pulling the information out of somebody's mind into the listener's ears here. So what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in this process of all these interviews that you've conducted over the past few interviews or whatever?
Yeah. I think the biggest lesson is no matter how successful somebody is, they're just like you and me. They just think differently. It's all mindset. That's the secret. It's all mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah.
Well, it's all mindset, and they have the same problems you have. Most people don't realize that.
Yeah.
The most successful people have the same problems. They're just on the other side of the coin.
Yeah. Like I've interviewed guys running billion-dollar businesses, $500 million businesses. They're just normal people. They just think differently about real estate. That's all it is. They don't, maybe the one thing I've noticed too is, it's always about people performing at the highest level always ask themselves, how can I do this? Instead of saying, oh, I can't do this. So they'll say, okay, well, this year I want to acquire X amount of real estate. How can I acquire this real estate? It's not, that seems like a lot. Oh, I'm not sure. They're always thinking about solutions and how they can do it. And that goes back into the mindset shift. And that's with the book I'm writing now. That's really what I want to funnel into the book, because over 100, I think it's 130 interviews now. You see similarities in every single interview. Everybody's unique, but there's also a common thread that runs through everybody. So it's really fascinating. And like you said, I learn something new every single interview I do. It doesn't matter who I'm speaking with. So I think for myself, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, it's almost doing these shows is selfish because I'm the guy who gets to talk to these really interesting people. The listeners benefit too, but I'm the selfish one talking and asking my questions.
So let me take it just a step farther, because I 100% agree with you. And so you accentuate the word how, but I think the word that should be like push is can I?
Yes.
Like, how can I do this? And, I try to just drill this with my leadership team and the people that work for me. Like, when we're trying to go forward and hit goals, like, I don't want to hear all the reasons why I can't. I want to know, how can we make it happen? I understand there's going to be thousands of more reasons why you can't do it than you can, but how can we achieve these goals? How can we get this done? But then I think it's not just the people that think differently, because I do agree with you. You have to think differently, but I think it's the people that act differently.
Yes.
The actions is what actually makes the success happen. You have to act on it. You cannot just think like a millionaire and just think like you're like a billionaire or whatever the case is. You have to actually take those actions. And a lot of times, most of the time, when you're taking action, it requires risk. It requires some kind of risk that you have to be willing to take. So it's the people that are taking action on how they think that are really the difference makers.
100%. And I think the risk that we have now is there's so much content out there. People think, reading a book or listening to a podcast is taking action. It's not. You're educating yourself, and I did that too. But there comes a point where you have to put down the book, hang up the podcast, and actually go out and start talking to people, building real relationships. And I think, you guys have been doing this for a long time. I've been involved for 11 years now. I see it time and time again. People approach me, they'll say, hey, I really want to get into real estate. 2 years later, they're still thinking about doing their first deal, and they can't bring themselves to take that action. So at some point, you just have to go out and do it. Like you said, you have to take that consistent action. And the one thing I've learned from a lot of my interviews is, nobody's going out looking to hit that home run. Once in a while it happens, but it's all about hitting singles, being consistent. And it's that consistency that builds the wealth over the long term. Nobody gets rich off of one deal, but it's that series of deals that starts building that wealth behind you.
Well, playing off of that analogy there, it's also the at-bats, because a lot of people don't even step up to the plate to swing.
That's right.
You might not even get the single every single time. You might just miss. You might strike out, which equals out to a failure, right? But the important thing is that you take that at-bat, because you're never gonna hit the ball if you don't even swing or even step up to the plate. So that's an important thing to understand when it comes down to taking action as well, but also having that mindset. So for sure.
And people are, you mentioned taking risk. People are scared, but I like to think of building a real estate portfolio. It's risky not to do it, because the advantages I'm giving up by telling myself not to do it, you look at all these successful real estate investors, yourselves included, you guys have time freedom. You guys have financial freedom. You're able to pass on assets. You have tax advantages. You have all this good stuff. If you don't take the risk and do your first deal, you will never have it.
I love that. So it's a bigger risk to not build a portfolio and build wealth.
100%. Yeah. And, with myself, I was in a really bad spot at one point with the single family portfolio. Was it really risky to make that transition as the sky's falling? Yes. But I knew it was riskier not to take that action, because I knew what was possible and what I could accomplish if I just went out and did it.
Sure. That's incredible to understand. Yeah. And I one more thing to capitalize on that, kind of the last thought that you said. I love the thought of, successful people being problem solvers. I know, just being in meetings with Tom as well, or even in the mastermind, sometimes we'll get a somebody that's presenting and gets up in front of everybody and says, this is happening, so we're shutting this down, or we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to do that. And Tom's like, whoa. Well, what if we try to problem solve this instead of just, throwing in the towel, because you could be onto something here. So I think that's important to understand, is being a problem solver. Yes, that is the mindset, but it's also the actions taken, like Tom said. So being a problem solver instead of a excuse giver, right?
And,
so that's
and being an excuse maker or being a blamer. Like if you're always blaming somebody else, that's what causes a lot of us, even some people that are successful in a way. That's what even causes us to go and have shiny object syndrome and like completely change what we've been doing. And sometimes it's not what we should be doing. Sometimes like we're so close to actually being successful that we just give up on something that we should continue. I mean, I tell a lot of times, dentists, doctors, I have a guy right now that's an accountant, and he's like, I want to be a real estate investor. And I'm like going through all of his education and all of his upbringing and all the skills that he actually has. And I'm telling myself, well, if you're going to be in real estate, well, why don't, instead of you owning rentals, why don't you maybe be a lender? Maybe you, because like that, like massages the skill set that you already have right now. So I just, it's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. And there's a million different ways to participate in real estate. If somebody's an exceptional doctor, lawyer, accountant, they're better off doing what they do best, which is saving lives. Doing their legal stuff. They should just, like you said, invest passively. Become a lender. They're still getting all these tax advantages. They're still participating in real estate. They're just using their knowledge and expertise to do what they should be doing, and letting somebody whose expertise is real estate do what they do.
And not only that, sometimes it's better for them financially. Like it really is. So I see too many people that want to quit jobs and go be entrepreneurs, or they want to do something. And sometimes it's just better for them to stay where they're at for a longer period of time before they have that side bucket built up. And then it's kind of ready to go. So a lot of it's just discipline, but it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Really
and these are the conversations we have with our guests all the time. It is so cool learning how the most successful people think about, like you said, discipline, about risk taking, all that stuff. It is so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Great conversation there. And definitely you guys go head over to his channel to hear some of the interviews that he's had, some different guests on the show that haven't been on here. So you guys are going to get a plethora of information and different people and the way they think as well. So we're going to have to wrap this episode up, Seth, but we appreciate you being on the show and everything that you have shared. It's been great hearing your Toronto accent as well. So that's been fun, right? So I've been trying to squeeze a boat and So anyway, so we got two more questions that we're going to ask you before we let you go, though. We ask every single person that we get on the show. So good success to us. Maybe you don't know us extremely well, but when you hear that term, good success, so just that single term, what comes to mind when you hear that term? What does good success mean to you?
I would say good success means to me being able to show my son by example how to build a real estate portfolio that will provide for himself once he gets to that age. It's all at this point, it's all about my son. Maybe I mangled my answer a little bit, but I want to be able to lead by example and show my son what it's all about.
That's great. We appreciate you sharing that. It's definitely really deep, and that's your why. So you guys make sure that a lot of times people that we get on the shows here, they talk about their why when they're given this answer about what good success means to them. So absolutely love that. I know that's one of the big reasons why we do it. Even the banner behind me says, if your why isn't big enough, your what, or if your why is big enough, your what will take care of itself. So that's huge. So then you got to leave the audience with one thing. So one thing only, whether it's a book that you've read that you want to share, maybe it's a thought, piece of advice, a quote that you love. So if you had to leave the audience with one thing and one thing only, what would that be?
Oh boy. I was just writing this chapter last night. So I'll bring something in from the book I'm doing. So my Danny Randazzo, a guest I had on my show, he's a multifamily syndicator. He said that the money in his bank account didn't fit his goals, so he had to go out and buy more real estate. So he didn't have enough money in the bank account, but he went out and made it happen. So I think that's huge, because there's so many people out there who dream big, but they let their bank account hold them back. Real estate's one of those really interesting assets where you can make things happen with not a whole lot of capital.
Interesting.
Kind of goes back to his other one thing that he shared. Like it's the mindset. The difference maker is the mindset, and are you going to take action on that mindset, on the way you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that, Seth, and it's been amazing having you on the show here. Thank you for everything that you shared. If somebody want to get in contact with you or learn more about you, I know you mentioned a website earlier, so maybe reiterate that, maybe email address or the best way to get in contact with you.
Yeah, for sure. You can visit my website, sethferguson.org. You don't go to .com. That's not me. That's an evangelical preacher. You won't find real estate information there. You can also go to purchasetoprofits.com and find all the links to the Purchase to Profit show.
Great. Awesome. Make sure you guys do that because we want to make sure that you guys are, we're collaborating with the people that are on our shows. You guys go listen to their shows as well. So Purchase Profits, go listen to it. It's on Apple Podcasts and all the podcast platforms, also on YouTube as well. Tom's is going to be going out pretty soon. So you guys will, if you're following us on social media, you'll be seeing that going out as well. So you can listen to that episode. So Seth, been great having you on the show. Thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to having you back soon after that book's written.
Yes, thank you,
sounds
Seth.
good. Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it.
All right, great stuff. So that's going to do it for today's episode. We appreciate you joining us for today's Good Success podcast. And if you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the podcast, whatever podcast platform you're listening to. And then the Apple Podcast. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, head over there right now. Give us a 5-star review. We would much appreciate that. Let us know what you think about this show. And then download the app. So if you don't want to go to these platforms and you're just more of a simple person, just go to your app store, search Good Success, download the app, and it's 10 times easier to listen to the podcast that way. And then the Good Success Mastermind next event is in May in Miami, Florida. But if you cannot make it to that and you want to come to the next quarter or even the next quarter after that, to learn more about the Mastermind, just go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind, fill out the application there, and then you'll jump on a phone with Tom, and then we'll see if it's a good fit for you and a good fit for us as well, because we want to make sure that you fit the culture and that you would absolutely understand what's going on in the meeting in the Mastermind. So goodsuccess.com/mastermind, the Community Go-Giver event happening right here in our office. There's only 80 tickets that are completely available, like in grand total, but that's not what's available right now. We're selling out at 80 because it's happening in our office in Gary, Indiana. To learn more about it, go to communitygogiver.com. I know that we've been posting a lot about the speakers on social media, so follow us on our social media accounts as well. And then Tom's got some books sitting there, so you want to just flash those across the camera real quick. So Active Turnkey.
The best way to buy rentals. Talks about financial freedom, the 5 cash flow drivers, which you kind of talked about a little bit. And then also, I know lots of people who have problems with contractors. So, or if you're a contractor and you want to get into real estate, or you want to see what the value that a real estate investor can give you, I've been on both sides of the fence, and I wrote a book about how to handle that.
Yeah, absolutely. So investors versus contractors, you can pick both of those up on Amazon. Just head over to Amazon, search the names for that, either Active Turnkey or Investors versus Contractors. You'll see our branding all over the book, so just purchase it there. Take a photo, tag us on social media, and make sure you post that. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Good Success Podcast. Remember to be a conduit, not a bucket.
Work to have to give.
And we'll catch you on the next one.